Jess.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Fueling for Functional Fitness. We are at CrossFit Due North in snowy, cold, gray Traverse City, Michigan.
Yeah.
It's beautiful here in the summer, but if you decide to come for a visit in January, it might not be the best time.
Yeah.
The reason we're here today is to talk about pre-workout nutrition, specifically for the Open, but really you could apply it to
Any workout, really. I mean, we're specifically maybe talking a little bit more about CrossFit, but if you're a bodybuilder, a powerlifter, Olympic weightlifter, all these principles are still applicable. So no matter what you're doing, you can take these tips and go ahead and use them on any given day, really.
Yeah. So the big thing, I guess we'll start with like the big rocks,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
If we're talking about like the biggest bang for our buck with pre-workout nutrition is going to be making sure we focus primarily on protein and
Carbs.
carbohydrates.
Yeah,
why is protein important?
Well, for a couple reasons. Obviously, with recovery, like the amino acids that come along with protein and that make up protein is really what's going to help you recover and get back to working out after you do all the damage in the gym. Because, right, that's what you do. You tear everything down in here. And then outside of the gym is when you recover and you get stronger and adapt to all the things that you do in here. So aside from water, protein is going to be the #1 nutrient inside the muscle. So you want to make sure you have plenty of it to begin that recovery process. You know, it's specifically in regards to workouts. Protein has a lot of other benefits and functions, but today we're just going to talk about why it's important for pre-workouts.
So that's a good question. We have a lot of clients who we've worked with in the past who work out really early in the morning. Maybe they're like a 5:30 a.m.er and they just don't feel like eating anything beforehand or even like doing any kind of supplement. So let's talk about people who are those early morning people. Like, what is important for them protein-wise?
I mean, you want to try to have something like in your system. I always recommend, again, trying to eat before you come in, but that's very challenging for some people, like Jess said. You can either do a slow digesting protein like through the night. A lot of people like to use casein, so that could be something like cottage cheese or a casein shake right before bed, and that kind of is a slow digesting protein that just kind of stays in your system, so when you wake up, you're ready to go. You can also do that with carbohydrates to an extent as well. We call that carb backloading. But we can maybe talk about that in another video because that can get a little bit more specific. But the protein, having something in your system before you go to bed, that's a good way to do it. And then in the morning also, there's another option. You can try doing BCAAs because BCAAs can kind of do a little bit of muscle sparing, quote unquote, muscle sparing. So when you come in and you do a lot of damage in the gym, like I was just talking about, at least those BCAAs, which make up a part of the protein amino acids that you get from like a full protein source, those can prevent you from breaking down too much. So that's also a decent option.
Yeah, and I'd also say if you're not like totally averse to eating or drinking something in the morning, even doing like half a protein shake and half a banana, we'll get to carbs in a minute, but half a protein shake, half a banana, like shortly after you wake up or even on your way to the gym can give you just a little bit of something, a little bit of those raw materials for recovery, especially because if you're doing a CrossFit class, it's not this way everywhere, but a lot of times you're going to do the strength portion first and then your Metcon is going to be after. So if you're at a 5:30 class, maybe your Metcon's not even starting until 6. So if you back that up, if you have a protein shake, banana, 4:45, that's going to give you more time to digest so that you're not burping up your, chocolate whey protein as you're doing burpees. So that's an option too. If you work out at another time of day, what are we talking timing-wise here?
We always recommend getting something in your system about an hour out. Now, depending on what time you work out, so like if you work out later in the afternoon, like here at CrossFit Due North, we have a 4:30 and a 5:30 p.m. class. So those folks have already had the entire day to eat a majority of their calories. So it's not quite as important to have something like directly, like exactly 1 hour out. However, if you're in that like you're in the middle of the day and you're not gonna eat dinner until 7, but the last time you ate was 3, it's probably beneficial to get something in before your workout. And that's where just a little bit of protein and a little bit of carbs come in handy. Like Jess was talking about earlier, we'll talk about carbs in a minute, but like a half a protein shake or a protein shake between work and the gym can be really beneficial.
Yeah, so say you're having lunch at, 1 o'clock or whatever, and then you're not working out until 4:30. You've got that big meal at 1, and you can go bigger on protein, obviously solid proteins there, like lean proteins with chicken breast, some ground turkey, something like that. And then shifting over to carbs for just a second, the further out from your workout you're eating, the more you can make those what we call low-glycemic carbohydrates. So those are ones that are gonna be like slower digesting, higher in fiber. Your veggies, your like beans, legumes, your whole grains, like that's great a couple hours out from your workout.
Sure.
But you don't want your 1 o'clock meal to be the last thing you eat before you're training at 4:30 or 5. I mean, we've probably all done that before. We've made it happen, but it's not like best case scenario.
Yeah, that's right.
So if that is the situation, then having, like Josh said, something a little bit closer, like, an hour or even like 45 minutes, even a half hour, if it's really like easy to digest before your workout can be a big help. And that's 100%. Where like that whey protein or even like a low-fat Greek yogurt for protein is beneficial. Carb-wise, when you get that close to your workout, you want to go high-glycemic, which means easier digesting. Some examples of those?
Well, I mean, you could take it and you could go with like white rice, which sounds like you're getting into the nitty-gritty, but the difference between brown rice and white rice is obviously with the brown rice, there's a little bit more fiber because the rice is in the husk. White rice eliminates all that. So there's like 2 camps, right? You can, one is not bad and one is not good, whatever. They just serve different purposes at different times. So if you're getting close to your workout and say you wanted to have like a full meal, you could have something, a lean protein like chicken breast and then white rice instead of the brown rice. It's gonna be more easily digestible and into your system a little bit quicker. White potatoes is the same sort of thing. Obviously, these are starches and things that you kind of have to balance out in your whole day. You can't just have like a day where you're not eating any carbs and then hit your system with this all at once, because you'll get this big spike and then like a big energy crash, and we don't want that. But those are good examples of those. You can also use things like, cereal, and to get very specific use. I talk about this with some of my clients too, is stuff like gummy bears. It's candy, yep, that's true, but it's a fast-acting sugar. The number 1 ingredient in it is glucose syrup, so it's like mainlining glucose right into your system. That will absolutely give you a little bit of an energy bump when it comes time for that big workout. But again, use it sparingly. Don't go around eating gummy bears your whole day.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point, because we have to look at this like in the context of your day. So any client who we are working with is going to be eating adequate protein, even if they're a plant-based athlete. Granted, like those targets might skew based on individual needs, but like anyone who's working with a WAG coach is eating adequate protein, because the benefits outside of workouts, just in life in general, are so huge. So your overall nutrition over the course of the day matters a lot. And obviously, like, we don't want you spending the bulk of your carbohydrates on gummy bears. Like, that's just not what we're saying. But what we're saying is that if you are getting close to your workout, you want to stick to carbohydrates that are easy to digest, and that's an example of them, as well as a lot of fruit. Like if you're looking for a more natural option, obviously something like an apple with the skin, a pear with the skin, berries with the little seeds, like that's going to be higher fiber, so that's going to take a little bit more for your body to digest, versus something like, like watermelon. You know what I mean? Like
totally.
It's not as much fiber.
Bananas is another one.
Bananas tend to be really like easy on your stomach too.
Yep.
So just kind of keeping in mind back to that like big rock idea, sticking with protein and carbs primarily around your workout. And the closer you get to your workout, the easier to digest you want those protein and carbs to be.
That's right.
So there's a third macro we haven't talked about, which is fat.
Fats,
and
right.
why haven't we talked about that in a video about pre-workout nutrition?
That's right. Again, context matters here. We're not saying that fats are not important. We're just talking about pre-workout. And when you're getting ready for a workout, you want to minimize the amount of fats as much as possible. You don't necessarily need to cut them out completely, but we definitely don't want to be eating a plate full of eggs or eating spoonfuls of peanut butter, as delicious as that might be sometimes. You want to stay away from stuff like that because it takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of blood to digest and make those fats usable. And it takes a long time too. So as soon as you let those into the system or into the process of preparing for a workout, just kind of slows everything down. And actually, we were just having a conversation with one of our members here about this very thing and how we just did box jumps in a workout, and you wouldn't want to eat a heavy meal, a heavy fat meal, and then come in and be jumping up on a box because you would feel terrible. And you would also feel like a little bit sluggish, and that's all because there's a lot of blood and a lot of digestion going on in the midst of your workout. So again, you don't have to eliminate them totally, but minimize them.
Yeah, I mean, we've touted the benefits of protein, and we kind of just jumped right into what kinds of carbs to add. We didn't really talk so much about why carbs are important. For workouts, especially CrossFit workouts, carbs are your body's go-to source of energy
100%.
for your workout. So they're going to provide the biggest bang for your buck energy-wise, and if you're taking in a lot of fat, it's going to slow down the absorption and digestion of carbs and protein. So if you can kind of push fat away from your workout, pre and post, that's ideal. So,
one thing that I tell clients all the time when it comes to workouts, I say fat equals far, meaning far away from workouts, and carbs equals close. So that's just a kind of a thing to keep in mind when you're preparing for your workouts. Again, whether it's CrossFit or the Open or bodybuilding, Olympic lifting, powerlifting, anything like that. It's gonna help out a lot.
Yeah. So since you mentioned the Open, I think it's important because it's end of January when we're recording this, and the Open's gonna be coming up in about a month. I should probably just like start eating gummy bears, even though I've never eaten them before. Start with whey protein shakes, even though like I've never done whey protein shakes before. I should probably just like change up everything I'm doing the morning of, right?
Of course. No, gang, what you got to do here is you almost have to practice like fueling for this. And again, talking about the CrossFit Open in particular, these workouts are not necessarily much different than the workouts you're probably already doing in your CrossFit gym. The level of intensity is different, but the workouts themselves are not going to be that much different. I mean, I think the longest workout is like a 20-minute AMRAP. And if you do CrossFit, you've done a 20-minute AMRAP. I mean, a bunch of them. But the level to which you step up, or like the intensity level, you have a judge, the stakes are much higher during the Open. And whether that's self-appointed pressure or if that's pressure coming from your peers, you want to do good and you want to show up and you want to do your very best. So as we get closer to the Open, what like Jess was just talking about, you don't want to just the morning of your big workout just start doing all the things we just talked about. You want to start to do this like early on. We're a couple weeks out at this point, so now is a good time. You see a workout on the board or in your Wodify or StreamFit, whatever, and you're like, you know what, this is going to be a hard workout. I'm going to try some of these methods that they're talking about. It's a great way to kind of ease your way into it.
Yeah, you don't want, I mean, this goes with anything, not just the CrossFit Open, but if you're doing a half marathon, you don't want the morning of to be the time when you try something new, because like pie in the sky, best case scenario, it like gives you that extra boost. Like, I think that's what we all hope for. Like, this is going to give me like an edge. But on the flip side of that, it could cause some digestive issues, and you could be like running to the bathroom like 2 minutes into your WOD. So stick to what you know works well, and a couple weeks in advance is a great time to start trying that out. If you're able to keep like workout I know a lot of times like we do a Friday Night Lights, and like I'm a 9 a.m. workout person, so like working out at 5 p.m. is totally different for me, and so you know, like, you would just have to take that into account. If you can work out at the same time, that's helpful from a performance standpoint,
Definitely.
but we know that like it just varies gym by gym, and even when, you know, like gyms will run the open workouts.
Totally.
So yeah. There's one last thing, unless there was something
No,
else
go
that you
for it.
wanted.
Yeah.
The one last thing that I wanted to talk about was like how much. Like we talked protein and carbs. Like what are we talking here? Are we talking?
Yeah. So this differs, you know, of course, as with most things with nutrition, it depends. That's everyone's answer.
It's true.
To nutrition questions. Well, it depends. But what we like to see is like for a moderate / easy workout, and again, it depends. Usually a 1-to-1 ratio of protein to carbs. So what that could look like is 20 grams of protein and 20 grams of carbs. A good example of that would be a protein shake and an apple. You're literally looking, I mean, a 1 scoop protein shake, that's about 25 grams of protein, and then an apple, you know, palm size, you know, you're holding it, that's about 25 grams of carbs. Same with a banana. So that's the 1-to-1 ratio, and that's kind of a moderate intensity, you know, kind of workout.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and if you're going for, you know, like if it's going to be a more intense workout, a longer workout, like obviously we're not talking Murph here, like that's its own thing.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be kind of moderate to hard, then you can keep protein the same, but you want to go like closer to a 1 to 1.5 or like 1 to 2 ratio. So just for ease of math, let's say it's 20 grams of protein, that 1 to 1.5 would be 30 grams of carbs.
Right.
That 1 to 2 would be 40.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so yeah, just keep in mind that carbs are fuel, and that if you are going to be going harder, longer, heavier, whatever, and you need that extra, keeping protein kind of stable, but bumping up the carbs can be really helpful.
100%.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
And we're not going to get into it this video, but the next video that we're going to talk about post-workout nutrition. And there's a lot of similarities here, all right?
Yeah.
But we'll save that for another time. So anything else you want to
No,
add on?
that's it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk before the open, but hopefully this was helpful, and have a great day.
Yeah, see you next time.
Is it rolling?
Yeah. Hi, well, hi.